Board of Directors will now come to order.
Almost
June
50 years.
12th, 2024. First item on the agenda. First, is there any public comment? Okay. Next is the approval of the minutes of the meeting which was held on May 22nd, 2024. And the annual meeting approval of the sealed executive session minutes of May 22nd, 2024. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Gennaro, second by Mr. Waldron. Discussion, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those ayes have it. Next is the contract 19-6 Stantec, additional funds for AET polling collection system implementation. Kate?
Sure. The existing task order for consulting services under contract 19-6 for the AET toll collection system requests a budget supplement of $49,932.44. This will allow our consultant Stantec to continue to assist RIPCO with the implementation and migration to the new gantry. The original approved funding for the task order issued in July of 2021 was $249,853. In August 2023, we requested additional funding in the amount of $64,200. We actually had to do a full second procurement for this, which that was the supplemental request for in August 2023. It just required additional time that was utilized during the procurement phase. The most recent supplement request in the amount of $49,932.44 is due to several activities not contemplated in the original estimates, such as the discussion of shared hardware and the risks associated with that, with our back office, weekly participation in additional meetings, and concerns with Amovis's design and testing plans. Namely, though, a lot of the time was taken for the multiple reviews. Typically, reviews on design documents, test documents only take 2 rounds. In some cases, Stantec was doing up to 7 rounds of reviews on the documentation. And so this resulted in additional time utilized. As of this date, we have just about a little over $13,000 left in the budget. And this is for time and materials, so we have not yet utilized the money. It's just that they are anticipating that they will run out of the existing budget before we go live.
Okay. Questions?
Do you anticipate any further kinds of additional services that
No.
you'll need? So it looks like you'll finish on budget, under budget?
Yes, and I discussed with Peter a little bit yesterday that we will go live hopefully by the second week of August with the new gantry, but that it doesn't end there. We're going to require some additional testing. Once we go live, there's much further testing that will take place. This supplement will cover that testing.
Oh,
that
great.
will go through November.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. Further questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve?
Motion by Mr. Alvidi, seconded by Peter. Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Kate. Next, health insurance brokerage services.
Yep, I've got the next few.
Yes, sir.
This is pretty much a straightforward request. The recommendation is to award a contract to Gallagher Benefit Services, Inc. for health insurance brokerage services. On February 16th, the authority issued an RFP seeking proposals from qualified insurance brokers to provide insurance and consulting services to RIPCO that include, but are not limited to, health, dental, vision, and life insurance. RIPCO staff posted the RFP on its website and the State of Rhode Island Division of Purchasing website, as well as conducted an outreach to various firms. On March 26th, we received one proposal from Gallagher, who is the incumbent. RIPCO's health and dental programs have approximately 50 participants. Gallagher has quoted an annual fee of $37,100 compared to the current pricing of $17,100. The annual fee would be offset against any commissions earned. Net increase to RIPCO is approximately $1,700 per month. RIPCO staff recommends award of the 5-year contract to Gallagher with an annual fee of $37,100, which will be offset by any commissions earned. The financial impact to this year's budget is zero. I had anticipated an increase for these services, but the recommendation is to award it to Gallagher.
Why such a large increase? Why is it such a large?
It's been fixed for 5 years, so they didn't have any increases. In my opinion, from doing this at my former employer, this is still very solid and good pricing.
Do you know I make them put $1 in a jar for every time they mention their former employer?
I didn't mention who.
What is this? Did you see how he was very careful to say my former? Because I make them deposit it in the jar.
It's like a swear jar?
It is, but not. I just wanted to note that before this company was Gallagher, it was Park Row Associates. Those of us who remember that, as long as I've been involved here, and that's a very long time, we have used Park Row Associates, and many other state agencies, quasi-state agencies have as well.
Road insurance from them.
Yeah, it was Terry Fleming, some of you, but Ann Capezza, he brought her in years and years ago, and she's been she's always very responsive. They're
Very competitive.
and right, absolutely, and a reputable company.
Peter?
Jeff, just for clarification, I know you did a lot of outreach. Is it unusual that there would only be one proposer?
So I reached out to one of the firms who I worked with at my former employer.
There we go.
My wallet's
Rich
empty,
today.
by the way, so there's no money going. And they just quoted that they were very busy, and the fact that this program is very small. We don't have a lot of participants, so they just didn't feel it was worth
Gotcha.
having to put together a proposal, the costs associated with that, and then potentially not getting it.
Gotcha.
So you only received one proposal,
Yes.
and you put it on the website, and everything was done?
Big outreach, yeah.
That's all I want to make sure, everything was done.
Yep.
And then just clarification on this. I think I understand it, but it says the annual fee will be offset against commissions earned. So if there's a particular fee that we're proposing to pay, and they get commissions as a result of the work they do, then our fee is reduced?
Yes,
Am I
we do a
understanding that?
settle up
Gotcha.
every year.
Okay, all right. That's how I thought I understood it, but I just
Yep.
want to be clear.
It's the same thing with our P&C broker. They get a commission from Beacon Mutual, and so we offset that against the fee.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jeff.
I have about 8 or 10 clients. I see 3 or 4 of these every 3 years, right? Or every year for all 8 or 10 of them. And this is as low as a fee I've seen in the last 5 years. And it's hard to get people interested even at 100, 150. I can see it's 60 lives that's a challenge.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion seconded by Karen, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thanks, Jeff. You're up again.
Okay. Similar to the last one, the recommendation is to award a contract with Pension Mark for retirement plan advisory services. On January 5th, we issued an RFP seeking proposals from qualified retirement plan advisors to provide retirement plan advisory services, including plan governance, design and administration, investment management, reporting, and participant communication. We posted the RFP on our website, the State of Rhode Island Division of Purchasing website, as well as conducting outreach to various firms. On February 13th, we received one proposal from Pension Mark, who again is the incumbent. RIPTA's retirement plan currently has approximately $6 million in assets with 80 plus participants. The current pricing from Pension Mark is 30 basis points. For the new 5-year contract, they have proposed a 25 basis point fee that's assessed to the against the plan assets, which is about $15,000 a year. RIPTA staff recommends awarding the 5-year contract to Pension Mark with a guaranteed fee of 25 basis points. I just want to make note that RIPTA does not pay for these fees. These fees are assessed to the participants directly in the plan.
Questions?
just a comment, I'm going to abstain from voting. These are my financial advisors
Okay.
for this company.
Anyway, please note that for the record.
Good
that
catch.
Mr. Gianellis is abstaining from voting on this item.
Could we change that to a recusal?
Sure.
Recuse himself.
Whatever the proper term is,
Thank
yes.
you very much.
Recuse, yep. Further questions, discussion, hearing none, do I have a motion? Motion by
Second.
Darrell, second by Peter and Karen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Jeff. Next.
Today I'm seeking approval for the fiscal year 2025 operating budget, the 2025 capital budget, and two resolutions. One resolution for the motor fuel tax bonds and the other one for the toll revenue bonds. I will do my best to breeze through this as best I can. I won't be going through the entire package, but I've tried to pick out some highlights, and again, I'll take any questions you may have either through it or at the end. Just one thing is, it's kind of long because, I want to be as transparent as possible, especially when this is out on our website, so people can understand, who we are and what we're about. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump over to page 4 if I could. The fiscal year 25 budget compared to the 2024 budget, the revenue is higher by $5.2 million, or 13%, while operating expenses are higher by $1.4 million, or 10%. The overall operating profit is higher by nearly $4 million, or 15%. I'm going to jump right over to page 5 on traffic assumptions. The traffic assumptions used in the calculation of the budget for toll revenue is based on a 0.2% traffic increase over fiscal year 24 actual data for the period July through April, and for the budgeted data for the period of May through June. Overall traffic is approximately 11.3 million vehicles, which is 2% higher than pre-COVID levels.
It's now 2% higher than pre-COVID.
Yes, for the 2025 budget. Yes.
For the what?
For the 25 budget.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's based on actual counts now.
It's actual through April and then May and June budget
Yeah.
for 2024. Yeah. Page 6, just historical
I think
report on traffic crossings.
Gas taxes.
I'll jump over to page 7. Operating revenues are aggregated into 4 categories: toll revenue, gas tax, proceeds, transponder revenue, and other revenue. The total revenue of $45.3 million is $6.1 million above pre-COVID levels of $39.2 million. However, the higher toll revenue of $8.4 million is partially offset by the lower gas tax proceeds of $2.2 million. In the charts below that, I just want to make one note. In the 24 budget, toll revenue was 63% of the total, and in the 25 budget, that increased to 66%. Again, that's primarily due to the lower gas tax proceeds. For toll revenue, the 25 budget toll revenue is higher than the 24 budget, primarily due to a greater percentage mix of billed by mail customers and non-Rhode Island Easy Pass customers compared to the Rhode Island Easy Pass customers, which are only 83 cents. For the gas tax, semi-annually, the authority receives a per penny yield from the state of Rhode Island's Office of Revenue Analysis, and currently RIPTA receives 3.5 pennies. On page 8,
Just a note. You might want to include some legends on the pie charts,
oh, good point.
what the colors
Yep,
are.
yep.
Sorry, my engineering brain.
No, that's good.
Oh,
Thank
there
you.
you go again.
I can't stand myself sometimes.
On the top of page 8, this is the most recent gas tax projections. You can see the October of 23 was at 14,781,000, and that's been revised upwards to 14,958,000. The graph down below, probably could use some legends. You can see that over the past 18 months, the gas tax proceeds estimates actually have
It's
gone
gonna
up.
keep happening.
Transponder and other revenue. The customer cost for a transponder is approximately $10. The budget assumes the sale of 30,473 transponders. There is a corresponding expense for the transponders in the operating expenses of the P&L statement of approximately $7. Other revenues primarily comprised of statement fees. EasyPass customers who choose to receive a statement by mail are charged $1 per month. The fee is offset against the balance on their EasyPass account. If there are no questions with respect to revenue, I'd like to move on to operating expenses. Hearing none, I will move on. Overall operating expenses for the 25 budget is $15 million. This represents an increase of $1.4 million, or 10%, from the 24 budget. On page 9, you can see the operating expenses broken out. The one note I would like to make is in 2024, bridge inspections was only 4% of our total operating expenses. Bridge inspections this year goes up to 9%. The personnel services, they're comprised of wages, payroll taxes, health, dental insurance, life, AD&D, and 401k contributions. The 25 budget is approximately $7 million. This represents a $409,000 increase, or 6%, from the 2024 budget. And as you can see, for our personnel expenses, our wages is obviously the largest piece at 75%. On page 10, the total headcount and full-time equivalent for the 25 budget is 83 and 80 respectively. This compares to 81 and 79.1 for the 24 budget. The two additional positions are in tolling operations and are required for the additional work as a result of the volume of bill-by-mail transactions and increased violation processing. Please note the personnel noted below does not include the union painters, which range from 2 to 6 FTEs depending on the time of year. And you can see in the table below the 80 FTEs. It's broken out by union, which we have 26 union personnel, or 33% of the workforce, and non-union we have 54 personnel, or roughly 68%. We've also included the painters plan of hire. I think we already have 4 painters, is that right? Yeah, we have 4 painters on currently. On wages, 25 wages total approximately $5.3 million. This represents a $302,000 increase, or 6%. The variance is primarily due to the following. The wage increase is effective 7/1/24 of 2.5% for the CBA, and the 2 additional FTEs in tolling operations. I do want to make a note that the budget assumes as of July 1st that all the positions are full. You know, we normally have 2, 3, 4 positions that are open at any particular time. Payroll taxes totals $435,000. This represents a $24,000 increase, or 6%. The variance is primarily due to the additional wages. On health and dental, the total budget is $911,000. This is a 69% increase, or approximately 8%. The variances are primarily due to the following. The budget assumes a 5% increase in rates effective January 1, 2025. This actually compares to an 11% increase in rates for the most recent renewal this past January. And then additional FTEs, full-time employees, are eligible for health and dental insurance on the first month following 30 days of continuous employment. On page 11, life insurance, AD&D, totals approximately $32,000, $2,000 decrease, or 6% from the 2024 budget. On the 401k, the total is $330,000. $8,000. This represents a $16,000 increase for 5%. This assumes a 3.5% discretionary match for all eligible employees. Assumes employees will maintain their current match percentage. And this assumes a 2% match for any eligible employee who has not started contributing. On utilities, cable, and internet, total budget is $383,000. This represents a $90,000 decrease, or 19%. The variance is primarily due to the 25 budget includes a one-time cost reduction of $12,000 due to the purchase of the net metering credits from the state of Providence. This also includes the elimination of the bills for Cox Communications. The board had previously approved an agreement with Ocean, and that was for the fiber running across the Pell Bridge. In return for that fiber, they're giving us the services that Cox Communications were providing. Contractual services, approximately $1.6 million, $63,000 increase. Those variances are probably due to the additional costs from the Rhode Island State Police contract, and it includes the additional monthly fees for both the new back office and the new roadside contracts with Movis. Other supplies and expenses totals $1.9 million. This is a $73,000 increase, and the variances are primarily due to an assumed postal increase of 8%. That would be partially offset due to the consolidated billings that were implemented in 2024. Additionally, in 25, we have included the new hub fees from the IAG in the amount of $40,000. For 2025 insurance, it's $1.7 million, $47,000 increase of approximately 3%. This assumes modest increases in premiums associated with our cybersecurity, automotive liability, property, D&O, fiduciary, and crime. Repairs and maintenance totals $949,000. This is approximately $8,500 increase from the 24 budget. Bridge inspections total approximately $1.4 million. This is an increase of $886,000. I have put in a table that shows the inspections and the timing of those inspections. You'll see the two large ones totaling a little bit over $1 million. That is the Jamestown inspection and then the Newport Pell main span inspection. Eric, do you want to make any comments related to the bridge inspections?
Sure. So we had a recent meeting with RIDOT, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, to discuss upcoming requirements for bridge inspection. And we anticipate the costs to go up. There are going to be additional costs for more rigorous inspections, more reporting requirements, and there will be additionally annual requirements for inspection of fracture critical members of bridges. So we're working through that whole process right now. We've accounted for what we anticipate, at this point anyways, the best we can within the budget. But moving forward, starting with next year's budget, you'll definitely see it increasing the inspection costs. We're unsure how much yet, until we work through the process.
You first.
I was just going to ask, is this the result of recent events, or is this something that was coming down the pike regardless?
Probably a combination of both.
Okay.
Probably a combination of both. I also anticipate that the feds may ask us to do collision analysis on our bridges if it has not been done in the past, just based on some reporting requirements that they've asked us for, that we've worked with DOT on. I anticipate there'll be more coming down like that, probably in reaction to the most recent events.
Yeah, some of the recent events have caused us to look at the more complex bridges that we have in our inventories. And while the federal government requires a certain minimum amount of inspections and particular criteria for bridges, we've been making decisions to go beyond those federal requirements and increase it voluntarily. The companies that you hire to do the inspections, how do you anticipate keeping them? Are you using them in rotation so that different companies have their eyes on the bridges, the various bridges, in different years?
So we're doing a combination of things. So we typically go off of quotes. So we look at the quotes. We also look at how many, have they inspected in the past and how many rotations.
Right.
We have, for example, some quotes in right now on Mount Hope that we're evaluating. Two lowest prices are very close, and there's maybe an opportunity to do something there to mix things up. So we do a combination of both because we see a wide variance in the costs as well.
Depends how busy they are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a wide variance in the costs sometimes. So we employ both, and we track we have a tracking spreadsheet that shows the last 2 inspections that companies did. So that helps us make a determination on the next one.
Yeah. I'd strongly recommend you give the rotational kind of consideration a bit more weight than the cost as you move forward, particularly if there are small differences. But we're finding that it might be beneficial to have a diverse kind of look at the various bridges that we have, particularly the complex ones.
Yeah. So what's happened in our process is that has happened here. We've brought in some newer consultants that hadn't had a chance. For example, Jacobs is in the process of doing the two different rounds of inspections where we break Newport in half. So we do approach spans 1 year, main spans the next year. They won that last contract, and I don't think they've inspected any bridges here ever.
Right.
GM2. So we brought in some local consultants to do some of our small bridges as well. So that's been happening just in our process.
Good.
We've been bringing in some new blood, so to speak, over who traditionally has done the inspections.
Fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes, that's right.
These new requirements that you were speaking to earlier, are they mandatory nationwide, or is it just?
Mandatory for federal highway.
Is there anything specific towards Rhode Island?
I'm not seeing anything specific to Rhode Island. I mean, RIDOT follows federal highway process as well. So we report all of our inspections through RIDOT, and RIDOT maintains the whole database of the bridges throughout the state and the inspection reports and load rate inspection.
So, if I may,
Oh,
some of the increased kind of criteria that we've been implementing are being implemented with a look at nationally best practices, what other states are doing. And I think they move us into more of the leading edge of the states, the various states, in their application to all of the states do the basic kind of inspections that are required by FHWA, but many of the states implement more advanced criteria or different criteria for different types of bridges as opposed to a standardized. And we've been adopting those kinds of principles, which are more best practices, but they're nationally accepted.
Yeah, one of the things that we will be doing is hiring a consultant to write, for the 4 major bridges, write individual inspection procedure manuals for each of the bridges, which we have some older ones, like for example, we have one from T.Y. from Jamestown, but it dates back to the 90s when it was opened. So that will be looked at and updated and, all that type of thing. The other thing I wanted to mention, the 2 Jeffs reminded me is, on the 2 suspension bridges, Newport and Mount Hope, because they're funded through toll revenue, our toll bond indentures require us to use nationally recognized firms on those bridges for inspections and for capital work, which we do now. So we can't use, a small local firm based in Rhode Island only, for example, on those 2 bridges. We are required to use the large nationally recognized firms on those 2.
All of which impacts our budget.
I mean, it's a great principle, but even that doesn't always prove true.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jeff?
On the bottom of page 12, transponder expenses, they're basically flat to the 24 budget. Operating profit, which is simply defined as revenue less your operating expenses, is $30.3 million. This represents a $3.9 million increase or 15% from 2024. On page 13 is basically a graph of our operating profit over the last 6 years. Capital expenditures. First of all, are there any questions with respect to operating expenses? No, I'll just keep rolling along. Capital expenditures, total $24.6 million. The major projects in the capital plan include the all electronic tolling, including roadside tolling, operations implementation. The estimated spending for this phase of the project is $5.9 million. The second one is the Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification and deck rehab. It is estimated this phase of the project totals $5 million, and we will be seeking reimbursement at the 8% level for any eligible costs. The third item is the new back office integration. This phase of the project is approximately $1.3 million. And finally, the Newport Pell Bridge dehumidification, deck rehab, and tower painting. We've included $8 million in this year's budget. And again, we'll be seeking up to 60% of the capital expenditure shown as a result of the infra. Page 14 is just a pie
I
chart
have a question
showing.
on,
Yes, sir.
the bridge deck repair project for the Pell Bridge. Is that starting in this fiscal year or another year?
Are you talking about the $8 million?
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the bridge deck repair for the Pell Bridge.
That's
Starting in fiscal year
that's in number
25.
4. That's-
Oh, it's in
yes,
number 4,
That's
okay.
part of the number 4,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you answered that on your Thursday morning with Jean, and we
I
made
think I
sure
did.
you gave the right
I'm
answer.
glad.
Yeah.
So it is consistent with what you
That's
gave.
why I'm checking myself.
This is the first $8 million of the 137.5.
Gotcha. Okay.
Are you allowed to restrict for capital expenses?
I'm sorry?
Are you allowed to restrict? Does the Auditor General let you restrict your operating profit for capital expenditures?
That's part of those resolutions. I'm on page 15. This is the total capital budget. So in IT, we have about 60 grand. Tolling operations, about 3.4 million. Safety and security, 45 grand. Maintenance, 105,000. Finally, the big one, engineering, which is at $21 million. Page 16, federal funding. Obviously, we've been successful on the 82.5 for Newport, and then the $27 million for Mount Hope Bridge. We do have 2 pending applications. One only the bid for $17.5 million, and the other one raised for $40 million. And that is it. Does anybody have any questions with respect to the budget?
When do you expect to hear on those 2 outstanding applications?
Well, we sort of did hear on one of them, which,
Before November.
yeah,
Raise will be before November.
yeah.
I think both of them before November.
Well, BIP, we heard already that we did not rate highly enough, so we're requesting a debrief. I think it was, they let us down gently and
Right.
weren't very direct, but it'll be interesting to see why, because, you know, we were told that that program had our name written all over it, but,
Politics.
yeah, but, and also, we're very grateful for what we've received. I mean, really all we have left that we could fund at this point would be the redecking of the Mount Hope, which of course
Right.
desperately needs to be done, but Eric's got that plan.
Do you have Plan
to
Bs
do
for-
chip sealing.
You have Plan Bs in place for financing
Yes.
these projects if the grants don't come in?
Yep.
Okay, good. Great. I want to ask what they are. You can tell us when we get there.
Could I add one comment? If
Yeah.
just looking forward, if part of this budget were to look different next year, I definitely would say it would be the tolling part, because tolling is always evolving. And there are all kinds of new concepts in tolling. The Easy Pass group it's a dynamic, fluid situation. There's a new concept of non-account based transactions. So hard to explain. It's in its infancy, but when I see transponder, expense, you may well not have boxes anymore. We may have Illinois is at least one state that's doing sticker tags already. Audi's been, has the smart car transponder that's programmed right into the computer. In partnership, I just found out recently, with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Authority. So we had someone in our parking lot who had a transponder from Rhode Island, but also didn't know that his brand new Audi had this smart car component to it. So in the future, I think if we see something different, it's going to be on the tolling side. You're going to see numbers related to transponders and our tolling operations.
Keep moving ahead. Yeah, okay. The next two items are the two annual resolutions. We're required to establish underneath the renewal and replacement fund for both the motor fuel tax bonds and the toll revenue bonds. And basically what these monies are for is if we are unable to come up with the money for the capital plan, these reserves are set up to fund those projects. So underneath the motor fuel, currently we have $2 million in that fund. We are requesting that we maintain that $2 million level. It does not need to be increased. If you were to do the math of what we needed to cover, it's actually $680,000. But the minimum that's in the bond indenture is $2 million. So the recommendation is just to leave as is. There's no need to increase it at all. Well, the toll revenue bonds, we are currently have $21 million in that fund today. If you were to do the calculation based on the capital plan and the fact that we are getting federal funds, that amount would be set at roughly $16 million. However, we're requesting to leave it at $21 million in case any other unforeseen capital projects pop up, things like compression link or whatever it is that may come up. So the request is to keep the amount at $21 million.
I would assume that these healthy balances that we're keeping reflect in the A+ bond
They
rating.
do. In fact, one of the concerns of reducing it from 21 to $16 million is maybe how the rating agencies
No,
would
I
view that.
understand, sure.
So,
But I'm sure they factor into a good.
oh,
bond rating.
absolutely.
Yep,
Absolutely.
good. Okay.
And that's it for the budget.
Question for Mr. Rodeo. We don't need to read the whereas and therefores of each resolution.
A motion to adopt them as presented would be fine, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Aldean, second by Mr. Waldron. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Next.
This one I promise will be quick. The 10-month performance continues to be strong. Total revenue was higher than budget by $6.8 million. It was obviously driven primarily by the higher toll revenue, but gas tax is higher year-to-date by $331,000 or 3%. We continue to look at and monitor our operating expenses. They are lower by $600,000 through the first 10 months, or approximately 5%. Personnel, utilities, contractual services, insurance, repairs and maintenance were all lower than budget. Other supplies and expenses, bridge inspections, and transponder expenses were higher. That's it. Everything's going well. Again, we keep a close eye on our operating expenses, and our toll revenue continues to be strong. Any questions on financials?
Questions?
capital report from Eric this month because we just met 3 weeks ago and really nothing had changed, so that's the only reason that's not there. So I'd just like to give a few of the highlights from the last weeks. We've already talked about, we did have a nice event to mark the $17 million Protect grant, which we received, and the governor and the federal delegation attended. And we were at the laydown area under the Mount Hope Bridge and gave us a nice view of the Mount Hope Bridge. And the governor noted that both his mother and mine were born pretty much the year the Mount Hope Bridge opened, so puts it in context. So the Raise 2024 grant, we're not expecting, as we just discussed, a decision on that until the fall. And Bridge Investment Program, we'll find out why they didn't think we fit well in that program. Again, the only thing we would be looking for at this point would be money to do the redecking of the Mount Hope Bridge, which, you know, the chip sealing is the interim measure for that. So we'll continue to look for that, to look for funds to get that done. Bridge safety and security. I did have Remy. Can you put those pictures back up? I did have a couple of pictures that I just wanted to show. We have continued to work with the Northeast Pilots Association. They are a key player. I have not yet seen, we were just discussing this yesterday, even though I was in Baltimore and there was discussion of the Francis Scott Key Bridge incident. I have not yet heard what the report from the pilot, but as you know, I think I reported last time, a pilot here, when a car carrier or other vessel comes through, a pilot boards that vessel 3 miles out. The first thing they do is they make certain that the vessel is seaworthy in every way, that the crew is competent, and if they have any questions at all, they drop anchor out here, and we may look at that ship for quite a long time, actually, weeks sometimes. These are pictures that the Northeast Pilots Association, Rick Astles is the president. He is actually on board these car carriers going under the bridge. So we have continued to work with all of the entities that play a role in if there were an incident. That includes Rhode Island Emergency Management, includes the Coast Guard, the Pilots Association, state and local police and fire. I don't know who I've left out, but we also will be having a tabletop exercise in the very near future as we continue to work and stay in touch. You know, we've already made some changes. We were confident that we had a plan in place. As Eric has already mentioned, and there's been discussion here today, the federal government has reached out to us and is gathering information on, I'll call it crash worthiness of bridges. What do we know about our bridges? We think we have gathered some information. As you won't be surprised to hear that the original design specifications for the Mount Hope Bridge back in the 1920s did not include vessel collision considerations. However, that bridge did withstand a collision, as has the Newport Bridge. So we have continued to do all kinds of work, making certain. And by the way, this is, if there were an incident, obviously there would be considerations in the water. There would also be considerations above the water. And so that's why all of these agencies have come together. Since that big meeting that we had here with all the agencies, I've had outreach from local fire who have, they've been conducting meetings and coordinating among all of the entities to make certain that everybody knows what their role would be. That brings me to...
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Will you be documenting the results of these into a kind of policy statement?
Yes, we have...
Great. That would be great.
Absolutely, and we have been culling the best aspects of others. We've been making certain that we're gathering other plans as well, and making certain that they haven't that we don't see something that we've missed, that's maybe some other entities.
Right.
So that brings me to, I just got back from Baltimore, where I was at the IBTTA board meeting, and it was also the Finance and Road Use Charging Conference. The current executive director of the Maryland Transportation Authority did speak to the board of directors. One of the things I heard, and that we have, we've been focused on as well, is communications. They lost all the fiber over the Francis Scott Key Bridge, so they had an immediate communications issue that they had to address. So it's nice to hear from some of these agencies that have dealt with these issues. You might not think of that immediately, but there were several aspects of it that we will make certain are. We've made changes here already. We did believe, and all of our partners, I think, confirmed to us that we are prepared. But it never hurts to take lessons learned in other situations and employ them. The IBTTA has a safety initiative going on, which dovetails nicely with the safety initiatives of other entities, other associations. The theme is Be Safe Together. It's focusing on vehicles, it's focusing on infrastructure, it's focusing on motorists and motorist behavior, and on work zones and maintenance workers and their safety. It's nice to go to these IBTTA meetings because you never know who you are going to see and make a connection with. We've been talking about our bonds. We are often on I call it Hollywood Squares, but that would be dating me. So, but our Zoom meetings, and there's someone from Fitch that I always see in a box, and there she was on a panel, and I made certain to introduce myself. We're waiting to hear from Fitch, and we had a great conversation. So it's nice to actually meet the people who are reviewing your bonds. There's a lot of discussion at the IBTTA meeting about revenue. They're using the term revenue assurance, making certain that we minimize lost revenue. We have seen some issues here because we have some pretty sharp cookies on our finance staff and elsewhere in this organization. And one of the, when it comes to fraud, one of the issues we've seen has to do with chargebacks on credit cards. So while I was at the IBTTA meeting, I raised this. By the time I got on the plane, I had a contact to someone at Visa and MasterCard in tolling who could address this issue and help us with this issue of chargebacks on tolling transactions. That's about it. I mean, there was a lot more, but I always find that there's many takeaways from these meetings that make them worthwhile. Next board meeting, July 17th.
Motion adjourned. Motion seconded. All in favor?
Great.